What are some red flags that indicate something may be wrong with your ACR? We're going to go through a list right now. Just note that this is a non-exhaustive list, so there can be other red flags. But let's start with issued by an overlay widget seller. Obviously, we don't want to do this because we know that these vendors are engaged in a worst practice. They are actively promoting overlay widgets which we know are working against accessibility. And if you want to find out more about this, go to overlayfactsheet.com and you can read all about overlays and overlay widgets. But we want to make sure that we have a reputable provider issue our ACR. Next, I have a pink flag. So it's not all the way a red flag, but we do want to check if there is a clean sweep for supports. So if our product or service is supports for every single criteria, this can be the case, right? This is optimal. We want to be fully conformant, but if we see this with an ACR, then we're going to really want to look closely and make sure that the product or service does actually support for all of the criteria. Also, if the remarks and explanations column has minimal elaboration and it is lacking detail, this is a definite red flag, and we're going to want to look further because with an ACR, we want to see that real attention to detail has gone into it. We want to see real effort has gone into it, and if it looks minimal, if it's lacking detail, this is a red flag. And so next I have missing remarks and explanations entries for criteria that are marked does not support or partially supports. So this is required when you are filling in a VPAT. And if this has not been done, then this is a significant red flag. This is problematic. Also, if we have non-AAA WCAG success criteria marked as not evaluated, another big red flag because this is not allowed. We cannot mark not evaluated for A and AA success criteria. So again, a red flag. Continuing on, if the evaluation methods used section is minimal, brief, and or scanned focus. So if we just have an automated scan being used as the method of evaluation, that is not nearly going to be enough. So this is a red flag. And just generally, we want to be on the lookout for ACRs where it doesn't look like attention to detail has been paid and it doesn't look like genuine effort has gone into creating the ACR. Also, if the scope is limited or if the scope is brief, then this is a red flag because we want to make sure that we have a comprehensive scope that gives us a representative sample, if not the full scope of the digital asset. So if the scope is limited or brief, it doesn't mean that anything is necessarily wrong with the ACR, but it does mean that potentially the product or service is not really covered to the extent we need it to be covered. So in this case, we might need a new ACR issued altogether because the scope is just too limited. It doesn't cover the entire product or service. So this is a red flag in a different way, not necessarily on the part of the provider, but on the ACR as a whole. We want to make sure that we have comprehensive coverage of the product or service. So next I have the product name and or version doesn't match with the product in question. We need to make sure everything syncs up. The ACR should act as a mirror in a way. So it should reflect the accessibility status of the product or service in question. So this should be a one-to-one. There should be no deviation. It should just bring forward the exact details and the exact accessibility status of the product or service. And along with this, we want to make sure that the product name and version match up with what has been audited and what is in question when it comes to the ACR. And then the last bullet point I have here is incorrect terms are being used. So let's say instead of does not support, we have the word issue being used. That would be the incorrect term. So then it brings into question who actually filled in the VPAT. and whether they are knowledgeable enough to or experienced enough to fill in the VPAT. So with the ACR, we're looking for expertise, we're looking for knowledge, we're looking that to see that genuine care has gone into the ACR. We're going to look and see that attention to detail has been paid. And so if there is any if there looks like if it looks like the ACR is too minimal, it just lacks detail, anything of that sort, it's going to be a red flag. But if none of these bullet points are showing, that is a really, really good sign. It doesn't mean that there can't be other red flags, but given these bullet points, it will help you in terms of looking for other things that may be of concern. But here again, generally, when we just look at this and we go back and we look at broadly at this ACR, has work gone into this ACR? Did an expert fill in the VPAT? Is the scope sufficient? Again, that's a different kind of red flag because a reputable provider is going to look to the client and they will, if the scope is limited, that is going to be outlined in the ACR. So that's actually a good thing on the part of the provider, but it's a red flag in the sense that, hey, we don't have the full picture when it comes to the accessibility of this product or service because the scope is so limited. So if that is the case, we're really going to need a new ACR because we need to have a document that acts as an accounting of the accessibility of this product or service. So these are different bullet points to keep in mind when you are looking at an ACR. So this is just one video in a series of videos on frequently asked questions for VPATs. I will include a link to the playlist in the description. I will also include a link to our guide on PDFs. This is VPATs in plain English. It is free to download. There's no email subscription required. This document contains many of the common questions that we get from clients. So that will help you as you are working on looking into VPAT services and getting an ACR or filling in a VPAT yourself. I will also include links to other resources to help you with your accessibility project. That will do it for this video. We will continue on with the next.